right, knurling is done. It's time to go ahead and apply the threads. Now this is going to be a little bit long of a process because we need to turn down quite a bit of this diameter of our workpiece to get to the diameter we need for the threads. But step number one is after the knurling process, this corner has been folded over, so we have a significant burr here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch off and face the end just a little bit just to clean that up. Okay, and then I'm going to start turning this diameter. And if I look at the plans here, right, I've got 1 inch that needs to get turned down to a 1/2 inch in diameter. Okay, we have a 1/2-20 thread that needs to go on here. Okay, that half refers to the outside diameter of the thread. Okay, and according to my plans, it's the last 1 inch of this workpiece needs to get turned down. So I'm going to face the end and turn the diameter of this workpiece, or the last inch of this workpiece, down to a 1/2 inch in diameter. So we'll set my speed and off we go. Should be 1/2 inch on the money. So what we're going to do now is, if we look at our workpiece, we need to create a little neck here that is a smaller diameter than the threads. What that is called it's called a thread relief or a thread gutter. But what it does is it allows our threading tool to end or stop without continuing to cut while we're in there. And there's a couple options to do this. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stick with the tool that I currently have and use my offsets that I currently have and turn this down by coming into the workpiece and then cutting my neck to that 1 inch that we called out. So according to the plans, the threaded portion is 0.68 inches long. So from here, I'm going to have to do some math here. 1 inch minus 0.6, oh no, I want to just go to 0.68, sorry. Making it harder than it needs to be. So 0.68 on my z-axis or x-axis DRO here, and I'm going to go ahead and thread or turn from here, this point, to my shoulder, okay, until I get this diameter down to 0.38 inches in diameter. So I know I'm at 0.5. I'm going to do some zeroing here, and I know I'm going to go from minus 0.68, okay, to my 1 inch mark on my DRO, but I'm going to zero off of my current diameter for my threaded portion right now. Alright, so if I know I have a 1/2 inch and I need to have 0.38 when I'm done, I know I need to cut off about 120 thousandths. Okay, so I'm going to do this because I'm diving into the workpiece. I'm going to take this in a little bit less, maybe 20 thousandths at a time. But I'm going to go in, a couple 20 thousandths, go to my, just short of my 1 inch mark, and then go back and go in and go back until I neck this down to the diameter I want. Check this real quick. Just make sure I don't go too far. Okay, like anything else, remember we want to try and creep up on it. And we're shooting for 0.380 is our diameter. Oh, and I still got about 40 thousandths to go. So this is how we're going to proceed. Okay, you're going to have to keep track of your numbers on your DRO very diligently. Okay, and make sure when you come back to your starting point, that 0.68 number that I have, make sure you don't go too far. So take your time. Okay, going through this. We don't want to cut too far here. That was another 40, so we're just going to check again. We should be pretty close here. $380. All right, there we go. That's pretty darn close. Definitely within tolerance. So I'm going to go ahead and re-clean up this shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to continue to cut to my 1 inch and then back out again. And then we'll be ready to apply our chamfer to the outside edge in preparation for threading. So we have turned our neck down to the correct diameter. We've got our 0.68 length here that we're going to use for our thread. We're going to work in a thread. And now I'm going to go ahead and load up the chamfering tool and just clip the end of this off. According to the plans, it's a 0.06 inch chamfer. Okay, this is just like chamfering our steel piece. You want to line up close to the tip. Here, I'm going to turn my speed down a little bit because it's such a big cut or a wide cut. So turn that down, I don't know, maybe 800, maybe a little less. We're cutting aluminum, so our speeds can be a little bit higher here. So I'm going to come in, touch off, and then come in my my chamfer distance. So chamfered, and I've chamfered the back side, which is going to need to happen anyway. And now I have my 0.5 inch diameter there that is ready to go ahead and be threaded. Now, the 0.5 or the 1/2 20 is the call out for our thread. That 0.5 refers to the major diameter of the thread, which is the outside diameter. Now, we want this to fit in this steel piece that we already made. So what I'm going to do right now is take this 0.5 diameter, and I'm actually going to turn it down just a couple of thousandths of an inch. So we're at like 497, 498 thousandths of an inch. Okay, that way it'll help us ensure that the fit for our thread is good right away. So right now I'm at like 499 and a half. So I'm going to load my turning tool back up. I'm going to touch off and just take 1 or 2 thousandths off just to give me a little bit of room for our fit. Turn our speed back up here. All right, you might not even see anything come off. We were just basically scraping the outside diameter of that to get it down to what we want. Now, one more thing we've got to do to prep before turning. We have to, in order to turn, because there's a lot of lateral force when we turn, we have to have some way to hold this or keep this from flexing. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a live center in our workpiece, which is going to help support that. So to do that, we need to add a center drill hole in the end of our workpiece. So I'm going to load up my chuck. Get me a center drill. And this doesn't need to be a big center drill hole. Okay, just enough to accept the tip of the live center. Okay, and again, that's going to help prevent the workpiece from flexing as we're actually cutting. So, live center, or excuse me, center drill is on. We'll apply a little bit of lube. And I center drilled just until I got into that tapered portion of the center drill to provide a place for that live center to hold nicely. Okay, so we'll take the center drill out and load up our live center. Right, now, we have to have enough room here to move the carriage back and forth. Okay, so we can't have the live center buried right up in here. We're going to have to extend the quill on the tailstock a little bit here so that we have enough travel on our carriage to actually do the work we need to. So I'm going to extend this. That's probably fine here. And lock this down. Now that live center here is going to prevent the workpiece from flexing or deflecting away while we're cutting. Okay, so give me a second to get all of our turning stuff, and we will talk setup of the turning tool and the adjustment of the compound, and how we check to determine when we are at the right depth. So we'll be back here in just a second.